Wonder on me.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you, Hi, boss. Christopher, will you go to Poland?
You asked me whether I was called.
A war criminal, sir. Are you ready
Oh,
to go to the war
I think he is a war
Will
criminal.
you be meeting with us? Will you go to Poland? Will you go to Poland?
All right, everybody, it is 9 o'clock in Athens. That would make it 9 o'clock in Kiev and 10 o'clock in Moscow. And here's my morning update for Thursday morning. And you just saw the segment where Joe Biden told a reporter that Vladimir Putin is a war criminal. Now, Joe Biden at first said no when he was asked whether he considers Vladimir Putin to be a war criminal. And then he had to circle back, as Jen Psaki would say, and he had to clarify his statement by saying, Vladimir Putin is a war criminal. And when he made that statement, after he made that statement, the Kremlin responded with this statement, and let me pull it up here. They said that, this is Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson. He told TASS News that Moscow considers unacceptable and unforgivable such rhetoric from the head of state whose bombs killed hundreds of thousands of people around the world. And so that was the Kremlin's response to Joe Biden, calling Vladimir Putin a war criminal. And this was expected because, as I said in a previous video, the fact that Russia sanctioned Biden, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and Hillary Clinton and Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin, the fact that they took the move to actually sanction these elite, retrograde elite Davos officials, puppets, that they actually sanctioned these people, is unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of. And I said that they would not take it kindly, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and all of these guys. That they may try to laugh it off, but deep down inside, you know that they are fuming. They are furious. Not only did they lose the money that they had, what I believe, the money they had tucked away in Ukraine and Russia and God knows where, because you know they've got cash stashed away everywhere. But, to them, being sanctioned, having a country dare to sanction them is unacceptable. It is unacceptable because they are, without a doubt, above the law in their minds. They are untouchable, and they are saying to themselves, how dare Vladimir Putin sanction us? How dare he? And that is exactly what's going through their heads. So Joe Biden calls Vladimir Putin a war criminal. And I wonder if he was told by his puppet masters to circle back around and clarify his statement and say, no, I meant to say he is a war criminal. Who knows? But that was after the Zelensky speech to Congress. And let me get into the Zelensky speech. But actually, before I talk about that, Hillary Clinton, while we're on the subject of corruption and Hillary Clinton also sent a tweet responding to the Kremlin's sanctioning of her. And she said, I would like to thank the Russian Academy for this Lifetime Achievement Award. So she's trying to be funny, but once again, you know that she is absolutely fuming. She is fuming at the fact that she has been sanctioned. Once again, she may have had money in Ukraine. It wouldn't surprise me. She may have had money tucked away in Russia. That would not surprise me either. We know that the Clinton Foundation's largest donors were Ukraine officials. The Clinton Foundation's largest donors were Ukraine oligarchs. Think about that for a second. So, I mean, she's obviously pissed off because she might have actually lost funding or potential funding. But, Hillary Clinton is saying, how dare they sanction me? I'm untouchable. I'm elite. And so she sent that tweet. And there's a lot of truth to her tweet. It is a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's a Lifetime Achievement Award for a lifetime of corruption and and taking money from oligarchs and heads of state to fund your pretend NGO foundation. Secretary of State. She was the Secretary of State for the United States, and she had in parallel a foundation that was taking money from oligarchs and other heads of state. I mean, what country is that allowed in? Think about that for a second. You are the foreign minister, the Secretary of State of the U.S. government, and you've got a side business where you're taking money from oligarchs and special interests and other governments. So, I mean, it is a lifetime achievement of theft and corruption and war and regime change and all kinds of nasty things. She's just, in my opinion, she's just a nasty person. Anyway, God, she brings out God. Anyway, let's get to Zelensky's speech. And so the puppet president gives a speech to his puppet masters. That's exactly what it was. Who do you think wrote that freaking speech for Zelensky? Do people actually believe that Zelensky actually wrote that speech where he talks about 9/11 and Pearl Harbor and I have a dream? This is reaching such ridiculous proportions that it's leading us to World War III, and it's absolutely freaking ridiculous. This whole thing is a freaking theater. It's a charade. Zelensky, who's being puppeted by the United States, by the Biden White House, by Congress, by the deep state, by the neocons, by Newland, by Blinken. He's being puppeted by these people, goes to Congress and gives a speech to the puppet masters. And they give their standing ovation and all that stuff. And the day before, he gave a speech to Canada. I'll get to that. I'll get to his speech to the Parliament in Canada as well, where Trudeau was nearly in tears as he was introducing Zelensky. But I mean, he did not. First of all, that speech was pathetic. I thought it was crappy to begin with. So whoever is writing his speech in Hollywood or in the DC think tanks, you're doing a terrible freaking job. He had this slick video where he was, trying to get the tears flowing from the members of Congress. It's propaganda video of all the nasty things the Russians have done and this war, and it's nasty and it's terrible, and I want this war to end, no doubt about it. I want this conflict to end, this special operation to end. It has to end, and no one wants more people to suffer, more innocent civilians to suffer. It's terrible, but that video was pure propaganda. There's no doubt that this was also done in some Hollywood editing room or some DC ad agency or propaganda think tank. The whole thing was constructed by his puppet masters. The whole speech, the whole video, all of it. I have a dream and 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. Give me a break. You think Zelensky knows what Pearl Harbor was? Hell no. You think he knows anything about MLK? Give me a break. Give me a break. He's asking for a no-fly zone. This is all propaganda. They're leading us to World War III. They are leading us to World War III because they know that the system is freaking collapsing. The system is collapsing, and they want the ultimate distraction. As the system collapses, they're going to take all the funds. They're going to round up all the money, all the funds. They're going to take it all. They're going to pocket it. Meanwhile, the system's going to be collapsing, and we're going to have war, and they're going to disappear on their yachts or on their private islands or God knows what. All of these oligarchs and officials and Zelensky puppet masters, all of them, they're leading us to World War III, and Zelensky's delivering his lines. He's playing his part. So he's asking what's it get for a no-fly zone, but he throws a caveat in there. Birds are loud here. Gosh. They are really loud. They're singing this morning. So he throws his caveat in there, which is, well, if you don't want to give us a no-fly zone, well, then at least give us all kinds of military equipment. Give us the MiGs. Give us the anti-aircraft missiles. He says, give us the S-300s. He's saying, give us the S-300s, right? That's what he's saying. And basically what Zelensky is doing, and this is a pretty clever play that the warmongers and the interagency and the neocons are putting out there. It's a very clever play. What they're saying, what they have Zelensky doing is saying, you know what? Give me the equipment so I can set up my own no-fly zone in Ukraine. That's the plan now. So they floated the idea of a no-fly zone. It didn't gain acceptance. It had no traction. People were like, screw this. This is going to lead to World War III. And so their next, the next plan is to say, you know what, we can't get to the no-fly zone, so let's create an additional step to get us there. Let's create a bridge to lead us to get to that no-fly zone, which will undoubtedly lead us to World War III, which is their ultimate goal. And so what they're saying now is let's throw the plan out there that we need to allow Ukraine to create their own no-fly zone. We're going to give them enough equipment, 800 million worth. Biden signed off on that right after the speech. We're going to give them enough equipment so that they can theoretically create their own no-fly zone. And you have the U.S. politicians, the puppet politicians, the warmonger politicians, both left and right, Democrat and Republican, despicable people. They're parroting the Ukraine no-fly zone idea right on cue.
And the lethal drones, we need more of those in country as well. You know, people talk about a no-fly zone when they can create their own if we give them the military equipment and weapons.
But there's a lot I think we can do to help Ukraine shoot down those Russian aircraft, bring down those missiles.
A package that includes fighter jets and air defense systems to the Ukraine immediately, so that we can have a Ukrainian no-fly zone.
What we need to do is make sure that Ukraine has the equipment it needs in order to defend itself, particularly the skies.
I think there's a bipartisan movement right here. Provide them the MiGs. Provide them the planes where they can create a no-fly zone.
Right on cue, they give their speech and they say, you know, if we can't give Ukraine a no-fly zone as the United States of America, well then, let's give them enough weapons so that Ukraine can create their own no-fly zone, which will eventually lead to the U.S. jumping in and creating a no-fly zone, or NATO creating a no-fly zone, which is the U.S. essentially. NATO is the U.S., and that's their plan. So they're creating a nice little bridge to get to their ultimate goal, which is a no-fly zone, which will eventually lead to World War III, a wider conflict. And they believe, I have no doubt in my mind that these psychos, they believe that they can create a World War III type of dynamic, and they can prevent it from going nuclear. They can keep it conventional, and they can prevent it from going nuclear. They believe they can contain it, or they believe that if it does go nuclear, then they can contain the nuclear war as well, so that it doesn't affect them. They actually believe that. I'm convinced they believe they can contain a nuclear war if it does break out. So in their mind, this is how they're going to get away with what is an economic and financial system collapse. And maybe that'll lead the way to the Great Reset. Maybe the whole idea is just to create this big, massive collapse. One big event that will crash everything and then lead to this new system. But yeah, give Ukraine a no-fly zone, everybody. That's a great idea. And where do you think all these weapons are going to go? Where do you think all of these weapons are going to end up? You think Russia's going to allow these weapons into the theater of conflict? Hell no. Hell no. They're going to take these out in the same way that they took out those trainees and military personnel or mercenaries, foreign fighters in the west of Ukraine, right outside Lviv. The same way they took it out with missile strikes, they're gonna do their damn best to take out all of these weapons and all of these anti-aircraft missiles. Christ's sake, man, where the hell is Europe? Where the hell are the European leaders? Because these anti-aircraft missiles are going to hit the black market. They're going to be sold to jihadists. They're going to be sold to these NAZI forces. These guys are going to take out a plane. They're going to take out a plane with these missiles. A commercial plane, a commercial jet. That's what's going to happen. This is just such a bad idea all around. It is such a bad idea all around. But the momentum's there. We're not stopping it. No one's going to be able to stop it. The momentum is there, and they want the war. They want the war between the U.S., NATO, and Russia. It's as clear as day. They want this war, and they can't get the no-fly zone, so they're going to go with an alternate option, an alternate plan. Give the Ukrainians the ability to create a no-fly zone, And that'll open up the way for us to eventually go in and create our own no-fly zone or create the dynamics for some sort of hot war. You know, this is putting Russia, in my opinion, is putting Russia in a very interesting position. Here's how I see it. Russia is, once again, they are going into this conflict soft. They're tiptoeing into this conflict because they don't want to destroy the infrastructure. They don't want to kill Slavic Ukrainians, Orthodox Slavic Ukrainians. That's what they see it. That's how they see it. They see it as Slavic Orthodox Ukrainians. They don't want to kill those civilians. They want to keep everything intact because they want to capture Ukraine. They don't want to destroy Ukraine. They want to capture Ukraine and get Ukraine on side. But it's taking time. I don't know what their timeline is. I don't know what Russia's timeline is, but the more time that this is taking, the more opportunity you're giving these psychos to get their hot war. And so Russia's going to have to, I imagine the Russians know this, they're going to have to figure out a way to wrap this up while minimizing damage and loss of life and preventing a hot war from happening. I don't know how they're going to do that. I really, really do not know how. But this is going to be a critical week. This is going to be a critical week. So yeah, so Zelensky, the final thing that I want to talk about, maybe two things, is that Zelensky also gave a speech to the Parliament in Canada, and Trudeau was teary-eyed, and you know he and all the MPs, they gave Zelensky this standing ovation, and he's this hero. And I just find it funny. I find it interesting that Justin Trudeau didn't have 5 minutes. 5 minutes he didn't have to sit down with the trucker convoy. He didn't have 5 minutes to sit down with his own people, his own citizens, but he gave the entire parliament over to Zelensky. He didn't have 5 minutes for dialogue with his own Canadian citizens. But there he is, groveling and kissing the ass of Zelensky. That's my first thought. My second thought is they made an entire stink about NAZI during the Freedom Convoy. One flag, which I think was a plant, but anyway, one flag shows up at the protest, and Trudeau and Freeland and all of the liberals, they come out there and they're outraged. I can't believe we saw one NAZI flag or even a Confederate flag. I can't believe it. This is unacceptable, right? Speech after speech, they talked about the NAZI flag and the NAZI elements at the Freedom Convoy. And here they are allowing Zelensky to give a speech to Parliament, a Zelensky who has a government and a military infested on all ranks with NAZIs. They are in the government, they are in the military, and everyone knows about it. Everyone knows about the AZOVs battalion, everyone knows about the right sector, all of these guys. Svoboda, all of these NAZI elements are all around Zelensky and all around the Ukraine government and all around the Ukraine military structure. This is not a secret anymore. It is not a secret anymore. And here you have Trudeau just a month ago whining and crying and outraged and clutching his pearls about one flag at a Freedom Convoy. And now he has Zelensky giving a speech to Parliament. I just thought I would throw that out there. What a puppet Trudeau is. Doesn't surprise me that Zelensky and the Canadian government have so much support for this war, given Freeland's history, of which Russia understands because they also sanctioned Canadian officials and they sanctioned Justin Trudeau. And what did the Russians say? They said that Canadian officials are sanctioned because of their aggressive pro-Bandera policy and their pro-Bandera elements. Who do you think the Russians are talking about there? Pro-Bandera. Look up who Stepan Bandera is. Watch Ukraine on Fire, and you'll find out who Stepan Bandera is, who, by the way, is a national hero for Ukraine. And when you go to Ukraine, there are statues of the guy, there are streets named after him. So we need to cut the shit that Ukraine doesn't have any NAZI ideology. It's bullshit. It is complete BS. There's streets named after the guy. So I mean, give me a freaking break. You don't see streets named after the Austrian painter, do you? No. So the Russians know, and they're calling out Freeland. They're calling out Freeland. That's why they put that statement out there that they're going to sanction Canadian officials because of their pro-Bandera posture, their pro-Bandera stance. And they're saying, we know all about Freeland. That's all they're saying. We know all about her. So, yeah, what a mess. They're leading us to war. That's my feeling. I don't know if this can be stopped, to be quite honest. It is up to the Pentagon at this moment in time, and it is up to the Russians. The Russians need to figure out a way to wrap this up. I don't know how they're going to do it with, I don't know, with this strategy they have in place. I just don't know how they're going to do it. We know that the Russian military is speaking with Pentagon officials. And I believe that in the Department of State, there are very capable, very smart military officials like Colonel Douglas McGregor, these types who are sitting there saying, we need to de-escalate this. This is madness. The question is can they stop the Newlands and the Blinkens who are leading us towards disaster? And the puppet masters of these guys, of the Blinkens and the Newlands and the Zelenskys, who are the George Soros and the Klaus Schwab types. Oh, by the way, George Soros wrote an op-ed a couple of days ago because, you know, if you're going to have World War III, well, George Soros has to weigh in, right? And in the op-ed, George Soros said that pretty much, I'll paraphrase what he said, and maybe I'll put a screenshot of one of his quotes, but pretty much he said that Russia and China need to be destroyed. They need to be destroyed. So that was pretty much George Soros's his take on it. Look, that's the video, everyone. What can I say? Really, really dangerous times. And I just hope that the Pentagon, and I hope that the Russian military and the Russian leadership, working with the Pentagon, because you know they're talking to each other, I just really hope they can figure out a way to de-escalate this. And I hope that Russia figures out a way to achieve their goal, whatever that is, without having this thing escalate to World War III. Because I don't see any other way out of this mess. I don't see any other way out of this mess other than the Pentagon de-escalating, finding a way to de-escalate the crazies in DC, and the Russians finding a way to figure out some sort of settlement or conclusion to this operation, while securing the guarantees, the safety of Russia and Ukraine. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling now, but we're in a really, really dangerous time. And after yesterday's speech to Congress, there's no doubt about it. These nutcases in DC, they want World War III. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. Check out Alexander's channel and check out the Duran's channel. Take care.